Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm so glad you're here. I was worried that half of us will forget the time, change the clocks, and be here on time. But look at you. I'm glad you're here. You made it, and I'm glad. Welcome to all of you who are here in person, and to all of you who are watching us online. You're here at Community Unitarian Universalist Church in Plano, Texas, and my name is Reverend Dr. Aija Duelm. I'm the minister of this congregation. We gather here with a mission, and our mission is nourishing spirits, working for justice, transforming lives. We seek to examine spiritual questions individually and together with others, and educate all ages by promoting ethics, a sense of morality, and the pursuit of personal and shared truth. We strive to serve and work together to make our world a more compassionate, just, and respectful place. Well, whoever you are and wherever you are on your journey, you're welcome here. Let's join in worship. I have a call to worship words written by Jack Mendelson today. Here, in this sanctuary of ancient dreams and wisdoms and beauty, we come to grow, to be healed, to stretch mind and heart, to be challenged, renewed, to be helped in our own continuing struggles for meaning and for love, to help build a world with more justice and mercy in it, to be counted among the hopers and doers. In the face of cynicism, darkness, brutality around us and within, we seek to align ourselves with a living community that would affirm rather than despair, that would think and act rather than simply adjust and succumb. Here, we invite the spirit of our own humanity and the healing powers under, around, through, and beyond it to give us the nerve and the grace, the toughness and sensitivity to search out the truth that frees and the life that maketh all things new. Come, let us worship together. A week ago, I attended our Southwest Chapters Ministers Retreat. It was in Louisiana, and Retreat Center is situated on a lake, surrounded by the lake. And as soon as I arrived, I was warned that there are 2 alligators who live in the lake. Well, I do not know much about alligators. I've seen them in the movies and in the zoo. So I was eager to see one. Maybe snap picture, right? So during a break, I went for a walk around the lake, and I came up on an area called Alligator Lookout. I was looking all around to see if I can spot an alligator. For that, my nice picture, had my phone ready. And then I realized that I was standing on the shore of a lake, and there was nothing but wood behind me. So if I were to spot an alligator coming out on that shore, I had no place to go and run from it. Suddenly, I became very uncomfortable standing there. And I turned around and I walked very quickly back to the retreat center. So I did not get to see an alligator. But this alligator adventure reminded me of a Loch Ness monster, a mythical creature in Scottish folklore that is said to inhabit the Loch Ness Lake in Scottish Highlands. This monster or Loch Ness monster is described as a large, long-necked and with one or more humps protruding from water. And interest in believing this creature had risen in various highs and lows to getting worldwide attention in 1933, creating movies, legends, stories, even though the scientific community explains that alleged sightings of this monster are really hoaxes, wishful thinking, or misinterpretation of mundane objects that are in the lake. But throughout history and cultures, we have many stories and legends of mythical creatures, and we consider them myths. Greek mythology alone has so many gods, names of gods, of goddesses, that it's hard to keep track of all of them. Some of them lived on earth, engaged humans. Sometimes they had meetings of gods somewhere else, not on earth, in a different realm. Some gods were powerful, others were rascals, like Sisyphus, who sometimes played tricks on the gods to get what he wanted. And in the end, he got punished by other gods to engage in a futile labor for the rest of eternity, to roll a rock uphill, only to have it roll back down to the bottom each time he finally gets up on top. The Bible, one of the Christian sources, has many mythical creatures in it. Leviathan, dragons, cherubs, unicorns, Nephilim, beasts, and others. It includes stories that were based in a mythical worldview. One of them is creation story that explains how the world began, and then other stories that explain how the world is set up, that there's a three-storied structure with earth in the center, heaven above, and underworld somewhere beneath. But the earth itself is not a place just for natural events. Sometimes there are supernatural powers that are able to intervene in the events that are happening, causing miracles. And of course, there are stories in the Bible that warn us that the world is coming to an end. There will be an apocalypse that will replace the existing world with a supernatural world. It was a Lutheran theologian, Rudolf Bultmann, who deeply influenced and shaped liberal Christian theology. And he did a lot of work in demythologizing the Bible to help us understand how this is a worldview, mythological worldview on which many of these stories are based. Bultmann was a German scholar, a member of the confessing church that opposed Nazi regime, and he argued that our ancestors could take comfort in their mythological beliefs about life after death, miracles, guardian angels, but modern scientific people can't. He was influenced by Heidegger's existentialism. And Bultmann goes on to say that our existence in this scientific modern world is more distressing as the control of life and its events are placed in the hands of humans, not gods or goddesses. And we know that we do not often feel in control of our life events, and that is why some people return to myths, which are at odds with our modern scientific world that we live in. If you remember, not that long ago, during the COVID pandemic, we had so many conspiracy theories and myths spreading rapidly. We saw officials and state representatives falling for these myths, discounting science and reason, and putting people in danger. But this was not the first time that people gave power to myth. We saw that during the 1918 flu pandemic as well. There were dangerous misconceptions and conspiracy theories emerged at that time, calling that pandemic Spanish flu, even though it did not originate in Spain at all. But what we have seen more of in these last few years is that misinformation, conspiracy theories are so widespread that they seep into our lives. Our families and friends get carried away, our neighbors, our people we work with buy into lies. And sometimes these lies have been reinforced by people who are in power, by news media. And we have ended up with some quite restrained relationships at times. Sometimes we are appalled to see our loved ones not being able to untangle themselves from the myth. And sometimes we ourselves find ourselves in the midst of trying to do the research and figuring out, is this true or false? The researchers have found several reasons why people believe conspiracy theories. And these reasons are epistemic, existential, or social. People are motivated by the need to have causal explanation, to regain some sense of certainty, to regain control, and to maintain positive image of oneself. While our senses of certainty, control, and belonging can be jeopardized in crisis situation, buying into conspiracy theories and myth does more harm than good. And in her poem, Eleanor Wilner says that those who come after will not say of us what wonderful myth they had. So do we carry any myths or misconceptions in our own faith? If myth can be harmful, are we seeing it in our world today? And it might be important to look at our own myth, even if it is a bit uncomfortable to question our own faith. But I think you will agree with me that this faith puts on us certain expectations and responsibilities that are not simple or light. So who are we? What is our religious identity really about? You will not be surprised if I say that there are some myths or maybe half-truths about us. And you might have already examples, but if you're wondering what I'm talking about, maybe you've heard such statements. As you use, you can believe anything you want. Really? Another statement that has been out there, UUs are all about intellect. That individualism is at the center of UUism. Not so much anymore. That you do not have to attend a church or be part of any community to be a UU. There are other myths, and if you would like to read some more, I do recommend Erica Hewitt's sermon on myth busting or Reverend Fred Hammond's debunking of five myths in his sermon, Identity Crisis. But today I would like to address the myth that You can believe anything you want, that we accept everything, because that's just not true. When an outsider asks, what do you believe? And the short answer that you can believe whatever you want, as well intended as it may be, brings forth some false claims. We do have principles and guidelines, ethical guidelines that help us examine our beliefs and actions. And in 2 weeks, during the Palm Sunday, I will talk about the new proposal that is currently on the way. We do have principles, we do have sources, and some of those you see on these banners up here that we have used for many years. And there is a proposal to replace these principles and sources statements with value statements that emerged out of these principles. But we still use our principles, we have used them for years now, to determine how or examine our beliefs and what they really teach us, what they guide us to uphold, and what things we might want to get rid of. We have freedom, and we treat our freedom with responsibility. And that means we sometimes give up some of our beliefs that are harmful or unjust. There are times that we are required to take a stance and claim boldly what we are fighting for, even when that may not be the most popular thing to do. Because the truth is that we do not accept just anything. Maybe that the word acceptance itself is misunderstood here. We accept people. We honor their dignity and worth. But our principles do not say that we accept all kinds of behaviors or all kinds of actions that result from beliefs that people hold. When we accept people, we do not mean that there is no action to take. Acceptance does not mean releasing a person from responsibility they carry for what they have done. You may have heard on the news from last month, Nex Benedict, a non-binary 10th grader at Owasso High School in a Tulsa suburb, died one day after an altercation in a school restroom with 3 girls who allegedly mocked Benedict in the past over their appearance. When one is bullied at the school or work, acceptance does not mean surrendering to the situation and not doing anything about it. It doesn't mean approving the actions of the girls. Acceptance means acknowledging the facts of the situation, as painful as they may be. Last week, as you heard in an announcement earlier today, we experienced yet another stealing of our pride flag. This community here believe that all people of all genders, of all diverse sexualities are made beautiful and they're worthy of dignity. We welcome all people here to hold this affirmation, because any other way of understanding sexuality and gender is harmful and destroys people's lives and well-beings. Using acceptance to avoid addressing a situation or to excuse an unhealthy behavior is not helpful. So our meaning making does not happen or must not happen at the expense of someone else. As Reverend Dan Harper says, you cannot believe anything you want. You must believe with all your heart and soul and mind that love can transform the world. Love can transform the world. And this is why, contrary to popular belief, says Reverend Dan Harper, it is not easy to be a Unitarian Universalist. If you are a Unitarian Universalist, you will care deeply about making this world a better place for all persons, to the point where you devote your whole life to that end. So yes, this faith is not easy, but oh my, it is powerful. It is liberating and meaningful and so beautiful. It is like a feast prepared with effort, joy, persistence, and commitment, and it continues to grow and evolve and change as we all journey together. I'm glad that you are part of it, and I hope that you all and we all continue to journey on this path to find meaning and purpose in this faith. And we'll choose to keep going on with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. As Eleanor Wilner writes in the poem, Those Who Come After, when they say of us what we have done, perhaps they will speak kindly of those who pried open the hand. Perhaps they will say that there were those who took down the harps and hung in the sorrowing trees and made a song. And that sounds like a legacy worth leaving behind.